Hey guys, welcome to another video for anatomy and physiology. We're continuing our video series with dealing with muscles that have to do with movement of the hips, and the femur. So in the previous video, we took a view of the muscles that work anteriorly. Now we're going to take a look at the posterior muscles. So let me rotate this. So we're looking at the posterior aspect now. So there's a lot of muscles that we're dealing with here on the posterior side. So in this video, we're only going to deal with 4 muscles, okay? And here, as you can see, I'm looking at the posterior end. My first muscle that I'm going to discuss is called the tensor fascia latae. So you see here, this is a hip muscle, right? Now, if you pay close attention, you'll see that this hip muscle actually extends downward. Let me zoom in here. It extends downward. Actually, one other thing I should say about all these muscles that we're talking about today that are on the posterior end, these muscles work as stabilizing muscles to stabilize the hips, okay? It keeps the hips from protruding forward. It stabilizes your gait, your walking. So as you're walking, it keeps the hips from tilting forward, and it also helps to shift weight. For example, as I'm walking, my glutes stabilize my hips so that my weight is transferred. The weight on my trunk transfers towards the foot that is on the ground. So that allows my back foot to lift up and then move forward also. These muscles also help to stabilize the knee. And the prime example of that is the tensor fascia latae, because as you can see here, this muscle actually extends to something called the iliotibial tract, okay, the IT band, okay? And this is basically like a sheath. This is a very strong, fibrous connective tissue that actually wraps around the whole your whole thigh, and it helps to stabilize the leg muscles. And as you can see, this continues to go down. Let me zoom in here. This continues to go down, and it inserts at the tibia, okay? Let's zoom in on that tibia. This is the lateral condyle of the tibia, so it helps to stabilize the knee. Now, something that happens here, that can happen, it's actually happened to me, and I actually have a video on this. Oh, actually, do I? No, I have a video of me dealing with plantar fasciitis, but I had another injury before I moved to Seattle. I'm not in Seattle anymore, but I'm in San Antonio. So this happened maybe 7 years ago, where I overtrained for a half marathon, and I, unbeknownst to, I wasn't sure what had happened at that point, but as I did more research, I found that I actually did something that's pretty common to runners, and that's I had an inflamed IT band. And so what happens is that this ligament right here, this tendon will inflame, and what it does as you run, as you lift your knee, and it doesn't always hurt. It only hurts when you lift your knee and in a very specific manner. For example, I felt this, and it's a very debilitating pain. It's incredibly painful. You hate walking on it, but even worse, going downstairs. I realized that as I was going downstairs and as I bent that knee, that this lateral condyle would actually rub on my IT band, my iliotibial band, and it just created this enormous amount of pain. And and because of my limping and my overcompensation on my other leg, I ended up messing up my other IT band too. So it took me about a year and a half or so to recover from this, because when I was living in Seattle and I would go hiking up mountains, I had no problem getting up the mountain, but it was a nightmare getting down. And then afterwards, I would have to just pack my knees with ice just to reduce the inflammation. And it took about a year or so of hiking for my legs to get in shape, and it took a lot of swimming and cycling. So I really got into cycling at that point too, because I was told by some friends that helped a lot to stabilize, because I got my quad stronger, and I helped to stabilize my knee a lot. And to this day, I really haven't had. It's been a while. It's been a couple years since I've had some ITB issues come up, but it's a very painful thing. All right, so let's continue on. So this is my IT band, right? Super long, super big. You can also kind of get a foam roller and work some of that out. But I understand that that's actually nowadays some of the new stuff that I've been reading and hearing is that the foam roller that you're not actually supposed to roll on this IT band. You're better off just kind of doing some dynamic stretching to warm it up, and then we'll go from there. All right, so again, my tensor fasciae latae, this muscle helps to stabilize my hips. And let me zoom in on it. We talked about where it inserts, but let's talk a little bit about where its point of origin is. And as you can see here, it's on the iliac crest. Sorry, it's in the anterior spine of the crest, and as you can see, it just continues down the knee on the lateral aspect of the knee. So let's now go over to our glutes, okay? And the most obvious one is the gluteus maximus. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the gluteus maximus. As I mentioned before, all these muscles are stabilizing muscles for your core, for your trunk area, and even for the knee. Now, this gluteus maximus has quite a, as you can see here, our point of origin is all this area right here, okay? So we're talking about the post ilium. So here's our ilium, and this line that it's attached to, this is called the post glute line of the ilium. So that aspect of the ilium, here, let me get rid of our glute here so we can actually see this. Let me hide this. Yeah, let's hide all of that. So this line right here, this feature of the ilium is specifically named for the fact that that's where the point of origin, that's the location for the origin for the glute. So it's called the post-glute line of the ilium. And then also you can see here that some of the glute is attached to your sacrum, the lower sacrum, or the coccyx, and then also the sacrum here. So you have the coccyx, the lower sacrum, okay, the lower surface of the sacrum, and then the posterior glute line of the ilium as our point of origin. So as I highlight this, there's something I want you to pay attention to. Notice here how the gluteus maximus, kind of splits off here, and it inserts into two different areas. Let's first talk about this point of insertion right here, okay? So for the glute, this is the femur, okay? The femur is kind of hiding behind, so this is the femur, okay? I have it highlighted right here, but you can't see it because, whoops, you can't see it because it's behind all of this muscle. Here, let me centralize this view first. Okay, so you can't see it behind this muscle, but it's right here. There's a line. There's a feature that your femur has that's called the gluteal tuberosity, and it's kind of a little line that, if I'm going to use an earth geological feature, it's like a little mountain range, tiny little mountain range on the bone where the gluteus maximus attaches, okay, where its point of insertion is, and that's right here, okay. Then also notice that there's this line right here, okay, where it attaches to the IT band, and so it kind of meshes in with the IT band to connect with your lateral condyle. So the gluteus maximus has quite an important job in stabilizing your trunk. So if you're having hip problems, back problems, your glutes, a lot of times it's because you have weak glutes. So you got to work out those glutes. And here you have just underneath. So your gluteus maximus is a superficial muscle, and just below that you have the gluteus medius. And as I was saying, all these muscles, the gluteus medius, you think perhaps it's not as important, but it's very vital to stabilizing your trunk area. And there are specific muscles or specific exercises, specific movements that you do to target that gluteus medius. And as I was mentioning before, when I'm feeling that back pain or that hip pain, there is a specific exercise that I do to target this muscle group. So yeah, gluteus medius. Oh, so of course I got to talk about the point of insertion, or point of origin and insertion, right? So as you can see, let me cross this out here. Let's hide this. As you can see, the gluteus medius has quite, quite a lot of space that it covers on the ilium. So it covers most of the lateral surface of the ilium between the crest and the acetabellum. So this is the crest right up here, and the acetabellum is the area that's just underneath that. And so this is where the gluteus medius connects. And then its point of insertion, as you can see, we follow it down. Here, let me centralize that. And again, we're looking at our femur. Okay, it connects to what's called the greater trochanter of the femur. Okay, so let me actually get rid of the muscle so you can see the greater trochanter. So there it is right here, this large aspect of the femur. And I find that really cool how in the human body, especially the bones, how every feature of the skeletal system has a purpose. It's not just random little ridges or random little protuberances in the bone. All those little random features in bone are actually there for a purpose, and that's either to be a point of origin or a point of insertion for the muscular system, and I find that pretty fascinating. And then lastly, let's look at the most profound, the deepest muscle. So you probably didn't know that your glutes have 3 layers of muscle, huh? Actually, there's more. It's quite extensive, but this is as far as we're going to go in this particular video. So as you can see here, the gluteus minimus, the smallest one, the deepest one, it wraps around and it also connects in the same area that the gluteus medius connects to, and that is the greater trochanter of the femur. All right. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful. I find this pretty fascinating, and I'm happy to be able to make more videos. I knew when I was taking A&P in college and in high school that, I wanted to find something. I wanted to find something that I could do this for a living, and I'm so glad that I can teach this and that I can make YouTube videos from this. So, either way, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching, and good luck in your studying.